The wide receiver landscape is absolutely packed with talent. Here to break down our top 36 consensus Dynasty wide receiver rankings with me is my man, Anthony Corrente. I'm Matt Higgs, the FF educator. We're going to dig into these players, 6 players at a time, give you a full breakdown here, and, just try to help you get a real good grasp on the Dynasty landscape at this point in time. Ant, you ready to get into this thing here?
I'm ready. It's the best. It's the best. There's so many wide receivers. We're going to
Yeah.
talk 36 and we could really talk like 56, 66. Like
It
there's
was
so
tough,
many good
man.
players.
I gotta tell you, like, I feel like I understand what it's like to be a producer now, of like a
Yeah.
big screen, movie because we left a lot on the editing floor, man. Like
Yeah.
37 through 45, you can like actually tell us the comments. Like if you're shocked that we left somebody off, if you're watching on YouTube, like drop us a comment. We're not even looking for engagement here. We want to just apologize because
Yeah.
there's 8 or 10 players who deserve to be on these rankings that they just don't fit, folks. It's a good problem to have, but let's get into it. Starting with number 36, we made room for Keon Coleman, the rookie wide receiver out of Buffalo. 35, Amari Cooper, wide receiver for Cleveland. Keenan Allen, now with the Chicago Bulls at 34. Cooper Kupp at 33. 32, Nico Collins, and 31, Jackson Smith and Jigba. A little bit of an eclectic group here, and I'm curious, when you hear Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, which one of these vets is your guy, right? Because you're going to get each of these guys, round 8 or later in a dynasty startup. You might be able to trade even a second round pick if you're a contender for one of these wide receivers, but there's certainly plenty of production left in each of these guys.
Yeah, I like all three, but Keenan Allen is the one I would probably go after
Wow.
the most. I just really like the fit in Chicago. I like DJ Moore being there to take some pressure off of Keenan Allen. Let Keenan just do what he does. Beat coverage easy, not have to worry about getting the clamps put on him with double coverage all the time. There's plenty of weapons there. We like Caleb Williams. It's an awesome situation. But I like all three of those guys. I love older wide receivers, honestly,
Yeah.
in Dynasty, because like the buzzy names that we're going to talk top are awesome, but these guys get left for dead because they're old. And if you are trying to win, not doing the rebuild thing, or if you're pushing in year one to try and win or trying to go trade for pieces on a contender, you can do a lot worse than Kupp, Allen, or Cooper. They're all going to be productive this year. I think Keenan Allen, if he's healthy, could return like fringe wide receiver 1 value this year, though. Like he does it every year when he's healthy. I don't really care that he's old.
Yeah, he's only upgraded offenses. I know
Yeah.
it sounds wild to say, but he's only upgraded offenses. We like Roma Dunze. We like DJ Moore. We're going to talk about them both later in the episode, right? But that doesn't mean there's not plenty left for Keenan Allen. Like he's going to be playing inside. He's going to be getting targets. If you think Keenan Allen is past his prime, man, imagine you're the head coach of the Chicago Bears and you have the opportunity to put your rookie quarterback throwing to Keenan Allen. You're absolutely going to pepper this guy with targets. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Keenan Allen as well. I've got a pretty good amount left over of Keenan Allen, just having him from his Chargers days, and I'm not looking to move him at all. And you know what? I like Amari Cooper too. I think he's kind of being slept on, and naturally so. I think we all kind of are adverse to investing in the Cleveland passing attack, and it's not super exciting. But Amari Cooper was super productive, a weekly wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type guy with Joe Flacco throwing him the rock last year. It's not going to be super flashy with Amari Cooper, but you're going to get 6-7 touchdowns. You're going to get 1,000 yards. You're going to get that type of production. It's always going to come with Amari Cooper. He's not even really that old relative to, like, however old you think Amari Cooper is, take 4 years off. I'm telling you, like, the guy, I don't think he's even 30 yet, right? He's still
I don't think
30.
so. He's been around so long, but he came in the league so young.
Right.
Like I know it feels like he is so old, but he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like,
he feels like he should be 35.
Right. So I'm definitely in on Amari Cooper as well. I think the one guy in this group that you're going to see all over the place, right? You could see Nico Collins ranked as high as 20, right? You could see Nico Collins ranked in the 40s. I think you had Nico Collins much higher than me. I'm worried about Collins. I'm worried about where he fits into this Texans offense. And Stephon Diggs is not on this list. He didn't make the list here. So, I'm curious to see, or hear your thoughts on Nico Collins versus Stephon Diggs. We will talk about Tank Dell. I like CJ Stroud. We had a good evaluation on him coming out, but is he going to be able to support 3 of these guys?
3 of these guys, plus Dalton Schultz, plus, the 60 targets that Joe Mixon's going to get.
That's a lot, man.
That's a lot. And that's I remember saying, just how much can the passing attempts really go up for Stroud? There's some meat on the bone, but it's not a lot.
Not much.
I was higher on Nico than you. I had him 27. You had him 37. And I think 27 is still substantially lower than consensus right now. There's, I've seen some places have him as high as 14, 15. That's way too rich for me. 27, even looking at where I had him now, I don't feel great about it because there's just so much that could go wrong. I'm glad he broke out finally. Cool story. Hopefully he could do it again. But my biggest concern is that there's too many mouths to feed there. And he's not the guy that I would pick out of the bunch. We'll talk about that guy.
Yeah, I love Nico coming out. I had a ton of exposure for him, and I understand, we held on to him for 3 years, and he finally broke out. He finally hit, but you have to understand when he's produced at his ceiling, and I think we've seen him produce at his ceiling. Like you said, CJ Stroud, really efficient, really productive rookie season, but I don't know that there's, there might be another 200 yards, but I don't think there's another 600 yards, passing yards in this offense. So it's, for me, I'm seeing him go for first round plus value. I'm trading Nico Collins all day for first round plus.
I would trade Nico Collins for a single first, honestly.
Yeah. I'm perfectly good. Watch the preview episodes, listen to the preview episodes where we're breaking down the 2025 class. We can flip Nico Collins for somebody in that class. Absolutely. All right, but let's focus on the guys who are currently in the NFL. We'll go Dynasty wide receivers 25 through 30 here, starting with Brian Thomas Jr. at 30, fellow rookie Xavier Worthy at 29, Jaden Reed at 28, 27, old reliable Mike Evans, 26, Deebo Samuel, and 25, George Pickens. I got to start there. I got to start with Mike Evans because Mike Evans does nothing but show up to Tampa Bay every single year, don his Tampa Bay Buck uniform like a loyal, one of the few loyal committed players still left in all of pro sports, and then puts up 1,000 yards every single season. Is there any reason to believe he won't do it again?
Absolutely not. This is the Rachaad White thing all over again. The Bucs decided to run the whole thing back. I'm running it back with all the players I liked on the Bucs. Mike Evans, all he does is 1,000 yards and threaten for double-digit touchdowns every single year. And every single year he's kind of left in this no man's land or gets, he's old, he's not. And then every year he does the same thing. I think if you can have Mike Evans as your wide receiver 3 on a contender, you are absolutely thrilled. You know what I mean? You got to find the guy, find the guy who's got him that the rest of the roster doesn't really line up and try and buy him cheaper than he should go for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, George Pickens, talk to me about your thoughts of George Pickens. I struggle. I'm going to just be straight up. I'm going to be honest, man. I struggle with George Pickens because I think, if you look at the offense, you look at the projections, you plug him in, there's volume, there's touchdown opportunity, but we do have these question marks around the quarterback situation. I actually think Pickens will be better off if we get Fields in there and we're able to scheme up some opportunity. Remember, Arthur Smith, man, let's rewind a couple years. We loved Arthur Smith, the OC. We just didn't like Arthur Smith, the head coach, right? So, Justin Fields to George Pickens, but it's at least going to start with Russ. We've seen that arm strength fall off with Russ the last couple of years. I'm swirling here with George Pickens. I don't know what the right move is. I need you to tell me, Anthony, what's the right move?
Well, you're talking to the right guy because boy, do I love George Pickens.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
I'm not really worried about the quarterback thing because I think either quarterback is an upgrade for Pickens. Pickens was good last year. I think regardless, he gets an upgrade, whether it's Russ or Fields. Fields would be more explosive, but Russ was not bad last year. He's got this rap he was terrible last year. He was pretty efficient. The weapons there were Cortland Sutton scored a bunch of touchdowns with Russ last year, and Pickens is superior to Cortland Sutton. And he's gonna get volume. I love Pickens. I have him 21. My heart has him even higher. It really does. I love George Pickens. But I think he's gonna score a bunch of touchdowns. If he gets in there with Fields and we get to see Fields just chucking the bomb to him all the time. It's going to be super exciting.
The
But
upside's there, man. The
yeah,
upside's absolutely there. All right, I'm convinced. I'm fired up here. So let's move on to our next 6 guys. Wide receiver 24, Tank Dell, the aforementioned. 23, Zay Flowers, big rookie season for him. Jordan Addison at 22, Devontae Adams at 21, and then the pair of Bears wide receivers that we referenced earlier with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I want to start here with Jordan Addison, man. I have found myself, the Rookie Big Board Discord has had a lot of trades with Jordan Addison recently. I found myself really consistently above consensus on Jordan Addison. I don't understand the concern. He had a fantastic rookie season. He was efficient. He had great production. There's plenty of volume. Like the Kevin O'Connell offense, folks, has not changed, right? Will it be a little bit more vanilla, a little bit more simple early in the season with JJ McCarthy? Yes, but I think folks are so locked into this idea of Michigan JJ McCarthy that they haven't been able to pull him out of that scheme. You have to understand the Kevin O'Connell offense, man, is nothing like the Jim Harbaugh attack, right? An approach to winning football games. Like JJ McCarthy, guys, he's thrown the ball over 500 times as a rookie. I'm convinced he's starting week 1, if not in the first month of the season. I'm not worried about this Sam Darnold situation. And quite frankly, I don't care if Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy are throwing Jordan Addison the ball because he's got Justin Jefferson pulling top coverage away from him. He's going to be wide open really consistently. I don't know, man. What am I missing? Like, what am I missing with Jordan Addison? Because I have him higher than 22.
Yeah, it's probably swung too far in this direction. He had a really good rookie year, and people have probably overcorrected too much because they're worried about, the absence of Cousins. But it's true. I mean, the offense hasn't changed. The offense hasn't changed. And I agree. I think JJ is out there sooner than later. Shout out Sam Darnold, but I don't think he's holding off JJ McCarthy for the long for the long haul.
The guy who I can't quit him, man. Because I got to tell you, for the last few seasons, I swear every championship team I have, it's got Devontae Adams on it. Like every time I make a deep run, man, it's got Devontae Adams on it. And Devontae Adams has been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go from those Aaron Rodgers years to, the Gardner Minshew experience, the Derek Carr experience, which was just, I mean, I don't think we give credit for how wild that was. Inconsistent it was. And Devontae Adams, man, you plug him into a spreadsheet, guess what? He's still, I haven't projected out here. I'm double checking. Wide receiver 9. I've got him wide receiver 9 in PPR formats. He's going to get 140 targets. Like, it does not matter who is throwing him the ball this year. I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot. Honestly, I think the quarterback, give me Gardner Minshew is like a big plus over, I'm forgetting his name now. O'Connell, Aiden O'Connell, right? I don't know, man. Like at 21, I do think this reflects consensus rankings and where the value is in Devontae Adams, but I think it's a huge value. Like if I could get Devontae Adams for a 1 or maybe even less, honestly, right now, I'm doing that all day on a contender.
Yeah, because I think last year you could pretty consistently, trade a late 1 for Devontae, and I agree. I did it a lot because I think totally agree. A player that if with the right roster construction will be on a lot of your playoff teams. And yeah, he's still going to be good this year. I think he's one of those true kind of quarterback proof receivers, right? Like I really do. I think that even with subpar quarterback play, he's just a terrific player. Plus, when you bake in the fact that like probably right around the trade deadline, he ends up back in, New York with Aaron Rodgers after the Raiders.
All right.
Bake that into the cost and him and Garrett Wilson. I mean, but yes, regardless, even with a full season of Gardner Minshew, fine. He was fine with Aiden O'Connell. Like it was, can we get worse? No disrespect to Aiden O'Connell, but
no disrespect to Aiden O'Connell, but like a little bit of disrespect.
Yeah, like this is Devontae Adams we're talking about. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Before we jump into our top half of the Dynasty wide receiver rankings, want to make sure folks know about the fantastic resources available over at patreon.com/rookie big board. You have access to my Dynasty rankings, Devy rankings, 2024 and 2025 rookie rankings. We already have 12 scouting reports on the 2025 running backs. out on the Rookie Big Board resource page. We have an article breaking down my rankings looking ahead to 2025. You have Ant's Dynasty rankings. So, this is mixing up, comparing our consensus between the two, but you could extrapolate them both out. Ant does articles on his Dynasty rankings as well. But most importantly, you can join us over in the Rookie Big Board Discord, where you can get personalized trade advice, personalized roster overhaul advice, personalized draft advice, all of that available over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Just $5 a month, folks. No better way to get personalized, actionable insight and join a really fun community that just takes it up a notch, just takes fantasy football up a notch. But let's go ahead. Let's take these dynasty rankings up a notch, because this is where things start to get fun, man. Like, this is where you're at the point in a dynasty startup where you draft one of these guys and you're hyped, but you're also kind of sad because you didn't get to draft the other guy who's going to go off the board right now. Like,
Definitely.
when you make this pick, you're not getting the other guy, right? So let's get into it here. 18, T. Higgins. 17, Drake London. 16, Brandon Aiyuk. 15, Malik Neighbors. 14, Devonta Smith. And 13 is DK Metcalf. I want to start by talking about Brandon Aiyuk here, because I got to be honest, man. Like, you could label me a Brandon Aiyuk hater. I'm just going to call myself Brandon Aiyuk confused. I get the argument. I understand. I don't dislike Brandon Aiyuk. I just can't get myself to like him as much as most people. Like, I feel like he's a consensus wide receiver 1 for a lot of folks. And I can't get myself into that mindset.
Because of like the weapons around him in San Fran, or because of the murky future? Like, because you don't know where he'll be, or both?
I'm comfortable with him in San Fran. I
Okay.
do. Like, I'm at the point where I feel like, I mean, he could move on. He could move on, but I actually think that might be better for him. Like, my thing with Brandon Aiyuk is, yes, he fit great into the Shanahan offense, right? But also, that's an ever-evolving thing. You have to understand, like, if you're going to dig in on a coach like Shanahan, you have to understand, like, this guy is constantly evolving what he's doing. He's not going to run it back that same way. You can't project out the San Francisco 49ers offense like you could a more vanilla approach, right?
True.
I'm trying to think of like an offense that the Bucks that we were just talking about. You can kind of bank on them running it back. The Ravens, there's a little bit of innovation, but you can, there's some pretty steady year over year things, even as they go through offensive coordinator changes, right? With Kyle Shanahan, with this 49ers approach here, it's going to change every year. And so, will Brandon Aiyuk get his? Yes, absolutely. But will he get his to the point where, you can bank on that same level of production last year? You can't bank on it. You can't bank on it.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment, I think. I think what keeps me coming back to Brandon Aiyuk and like locking him in like a back end wide receiver 1 is, I think he has really improved as a player every year. And as that offense has shifted, and we've seen the stuff they've done with Debo, and they trade for CMC and all this stuff, I think as Brandon Aiyuk has become like a really polished, well-rounded, like superb route runner, kind of like tactician at the position, I think that helps cement him into a little bit more of a consistent role there. But it's definitely fair. Like, Shanahan is going to do something that we either haven't seen or aren't expecting. I mean, look back a couple of years when, like, Debo got all that rushing work, and it was like, oh, we weren't really counting on that either. But
right. Yeah. And, and there's CMC. And, at any point in time, Shanahan's going to go 4 running backs deep. Like, I honestly believe we're going to see Cody Schrader this year. You know what
probably.
I mean? It's just, it's a run first offense at the end of the day too. So it'll be really interesting to see. And again, I'm not a Brandon Aiyuk hater, just a little Brandon Aiyuk confused. That's what I'm going to call it here. Right next to him in the rankings, man, I am so excited for Drake London. Is it founded excitement? I don't know. Is it justified? Maybe not. Am I really excited? Yeah, man. I've convinced myself. This is the time we're going to wheels up.
Yeah.
He's wide receiver 14 in my projections. I've got him at 1,100 receiving yards. I've got him at 6 touchdowns. I'm in, man. I'm in on Drake London in this Atlanta Falcons, this new Atlanta Falcons passing attack. I'm in.
Yeah, no argument from me. I think, like, hot take, bold or otherwise, I think he is one of a handful of players that will be in consideration. I think you can make the argument, the path is there, that, okay, Drake London could be the wide receiver one, right? In
Woo-hoo.
terms of
Woo.
opportunity, volume, talent, like it's got to all come together. Not saying he will be, but like, he's one of a handful of guys that I think you can make the case for. I mean, Kirk can sustain a guy like that. And, hopefully Kirk's right coming off the Achilles. But I mean, in terms of other wide receivers, like there's other weapons there, right? Like Pitts will get work and Bijan will obviously get work. But I mean, it's Darnell Mooney at wide receiver, right? Like Drake London's the dude at wide receiver, unless you want to consider Kyle Pitts what he is. But I think Drake London's going to get all the work he can handle.
Yeah, in the red zone looks like he's been hyper
Yeah.
efficient in the red zone. That's what jumps out to me too. All right, let's move into our top 12 here. Our consensus wide receiver ones for fantasy football purposes. At 12, we have Michael Pittman, 11, Jalen Waddle, 10, Chris Olave, 9, Tyreek Hill, 8, Puka Nacua, and 7, Garrett Wilson. We absolutely must begin where it is appropriate to begin with a full explanation. Please enlighten me as to why you slandered Michael Pittman, man. I had to pull him up these consensus ranks.
I know. I don't know. Oh man, I have him too low. I really
You
do.
do? What's
He
going
should be
on here,
higher.
man?
I don't know because I love Michael Pittman. I love Michael Pittman.
We have insulated volume.
Yeah,
Like the volume will be there. I
volume will be
understand
there.
we got the Anthony Richardson thing, but he went over 1,000 yards.
Hey, I love Anthony Richardson.
You know what I mean?
We're gonna live adjust Michael Pittman on air here.
Bump him up the ranks.
Bump him up the ranks. Yeah, I should have him a couple spots higher. I love Michael Pittman. I do think he's a wide receiver one. This is the problem with the wide receivers. We're talking about the top 36. There's 50 guys that should be top 36 wide receivers.
I know. And it's like, if you're looking for value, right? You look at wide receiver, I mean, really 7, like honestly, wide receiver 7 through 15, 16, it's close, man. It's tight.
It's like, just pick your guy, pick who you like.
Go ahead, get your guy. At the end of the day, like that's a great philosophy to go off of here. I think some people might look at our list here and say Tyreek Hill at 9. I mean, this is a guy who's told us he's going to retire next year, right? He's come out, he said that. So it gets into an interesting conversation when it comes to dynasty fantasy football of immediate production, long-term production, right? We mentioned this on the running back rankings episode that I'll lean into immediate production. Like I do value that. And so even 2 good years out of Tyreek Hill, 2 more top 3, top 5 wide receiver years, I think that's worth putting him, in the same place of a guy like Chris Olave or Jalen Waddle, who obviously have much more career in front of them. But although they produced at a consistent and a good rate, haven't produced at a Tyreek Hill championship roster breaking rate.
Right.
Is that generally, how you're going to approach Tyreek Hill as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, because if you knew he was going to play more than a year or 2, he's a top 3 wide receiver. Like he's an absolute cheat code on your roster, on your team. Like there's no question about it. Like we know the fit in Mike McDaniel's offense. We've seen the production. Like he's going to do it again. We've seen that it doesn't matter that Jalen Waddle's there. We love Jalen Waddle too. Like Tyreek is going to get his. Yeah. If I know I'm getting a year or 2 of Tyreek Hill, the thing for me is Dynasty, love it. Love the long-term outlook, but I want to win the games and try and win a championship this year. And players like Tyreek Hill
win the game.
Yeah. Players like, I'm not playing who can do the longest rebuild. I want the good players, and Tyreek Hill is a player that will bring you to a championship. I'm not trading Tyreek Hill either. Like, if I have a roster that's like, oh, I have Tyreek Hill, but maybe the rest of this roster doesn't really like fit to contend right now, I'm not trading Tyreek Hill for less than an absolute haul, because whoever's trading for him is probably a contender. Yeah. Tyreek Hill is worth way more than just, a late 1 or something.
2 ones is the minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the starting point, especially if they're a contender, because 2 late ones would be the minimum for me. And then we'd have
I'm probably still asking for a player.
Oh, yeah. Like throw in Keon Coleman. Throw in one of the guys that we talked about earlier. Throw in Jaden Reed. Throw in Jackson Smith and Jigba, who we didn't talk about, but I think is in for a bump this year. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. All right, top 6 dynasty wide receivers. Let's get into it here. Just 6 studs. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
good.
I'm on Ross St. Brown at 6, AJ Brown at 5, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. He debuts in the consensus ranking at 4. Jamar Chase 3, CeeDee Lamb at 2, Justin Jefferson at 1. I think, a rational person who doesn't, follow the whole rookie cycle, who doesn't watch college football as much as we do at the absolute sicko level, could look at these rankings and say, what in the world has Marvin Harrison Jr. done or showed us to deserve being ranked 4th above A.J. Brown, above Amon-Ra St. Brown? So I have a lot of thought. I'll let you start though. Like we were lock sync on this. We both had him at 4.
Yeah.
So tell me why you're putting a guy like Marv over AJ Brown, over Amon-Ra St. Brown, over Garrett Wilson, those types of guys.
Marv is the perfect storm of like, not to like throw around like the most overused, overthrown around phrase ever, but like a truly generational prospect. Not like the ones that we say every year, like this guy's Marv was actually that, right? Like that good of a prospect. The strong bloodlines, the production, the traits, the size, has literally everything you want. And then he goes to a place with a very good established quarterback who is going to feed him at a preposterous rate. There's simply nobody there. I love Trey McBride. Sure, Michael Wilson. Great, whatever. But no, come on. Marv might get 160 targets, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
He's going to get such an incredible amount of work in his rookie year. And we've seen these other rookies come in and be productive. Garrett Wilson. We loved Garrett Wilson. Chris Olave. Oh, yeah. There might not have been a couple people higher on Chris Olave that year than us, but Marv is different. Marv is different than all these guys.
Yeah.
He's different. He is truly built different. The size, the speed, the true like boundary ability, crazy body control, can do it all. And Kyler is going to absolutely love him. So yeah, wheels up for him and Kyler.
Wheels up, man. I have my projections, which are available over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. My projection for Marvin Harrison Jr., 1,300 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. I don't even think it's that wild. It's really not. It's not that different from the Jamar Chase rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, man, it's a perfect fit in terms of he's a boundary presence. He's got excellent hands. He's got excellent ball tracking ability. He's got speed. He's got that physicality. And he simply has the targets. And it sounds oversimplified, folks, but volume is king.
Yeah.
Targets are king, because you're going to get, and then the red zone opportunity. I mean, he's an absolute, he's going to be a physical threat in the red zone, and clearly the physical threat in the red zone. I mean, throw Trey McBride in there as well, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like he's going to be the top target, if not one of the 2 top targets in the red zone. So it's wheels up for Marv. I have no second thoughts about that one.
No.
And I think where the conversation happens here is we had a little bit of a differentiation in our top 3. So we had Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, but we had them mixed up. Mm-hmm. And, ultimately I want to hear the conversation of Justin Jefferson versus CeeDee Lamb. Justin Jefferson is your wide receiver 1. Mm-hmm. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1. So I'll let you start here with the argument for Justin Jefferson, keeping in mind the fact that we have 2 great wide receiver choices here. There's really no bad choice.
Yeah, this is really like splitting hairs. I think Jefferson, for me, the argument you can make for Lamb is that, he's still locked in with Dak, and we know what Dak is going to do with CeeDee Lamb. I think that we talked about the Vikings earlier, and, the change at quarterback doesn't scare me, whether it's Darnold, JJ McCarthy, don't really care, because I think Justin Jefferson has also proven that he's one of those Devontae Adams caliber players. Like, Justin Jefferson went off at the end of the year with Nick Mullins. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing?
So many strays on this episode, man.
Yeah, so no offense, Nick Mullins, but you and Aiden O'Connell, you're getting it today. So Justin Jefferson, for me, kind of remains the king till he's not, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have no problem with somebody putting Lamb 1 or somebody putting, even if you want to put Jamar Chase 1 or make the argument for it. I'm not going to, argue till I'm blue in the face about it, because they're all great players and you're really splitting hairs and taking your guy. But Jefferson, for me, I'll give the benefit of the doubt until he doesn't deserve it anymore, which for right now, he's still getting it.
Yeah, I think you just have such a high floor with CeeDee Lamb. Like, that's my thing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and not that you don't have a high floor with Justin Jefferson, but, I have them both projected for over 1,400 receiving yards. I have a couple more touchdowns for Lamb. I think one thing that, people don't always reflect on or notice with, Lamb gets a few rushing yards every year too. Like,
Mhm.
I have him in my projections for, over 75 rushing yards. He does get that opportunity as well. But when you look at CeeDee Lamb, the big difference maker in my projections, and like I said, like I'd lean into that immediate year production. And the reason Lamb is wide receiver 1 in my projections, Jefferson's wide receiver 4, is because Lamb gets a ton of receptions. Just
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got he's got a super high catch rate and he's got a higher volume rate as well. So I have him at 112 receptions in my projections, and that's going to be a huge difference maker. And
Sure.
my projections are half PPR. So, you could
Yeah.
extrapolate that even further in full PPR. So that's going to be, and at the end of the day, the difference maker. But, when you're drafting, wide receiver 1, 2, 3, there's going to be bias in anything. Like I remember, like I love CeeDee Lamb because I was on him over Jerry Jeudy in that class where that was like a blasphemous take.
Mhm.
Uh, but also, like, I have so much Justin Jefferson because I drafted him at like 90% rate when he was a second round rookie pick. People forget,
Yeah.
so there's always a little bit of bias to drafting these guys at the top too. Like at the end of the day,
Oh,
like
of course. I
draft the
like
guys you
I
want.
I caped for Amon-Ra for a year before he
You
was a
did.
day 3 pick and, kinda got buried a little bit, and the point being these top 6 guys, like, trade multiple firsts for them,
Oh
draft
yeah,
them early, like, this is it, the cream of
yeah.
the crop. You really
It,
can't go wrong with
if
any
you've
of
got a
them.
trade offer or debating a trade offer for one of these guys and you're watching on YouTube, like drop it in the comments. Let us know what the
Yeah.
trade is, or if you've done a trade recently. I'd love to hear it because if you're trading for or trading away one of these guys, it's got to be a haul. Like
Yeah.
I want to see it because it's
It
got to
it's
be a
it
fun one.
simply cannot be done cheap. Like,
Simply.
it simply cannot. Not in this economy.
Simply cannot be done cheap. But you know what can be done cheaply is getting access to those rookie big board resources, those Dynasty Devy rookie rankings, the 2024 seasonal projections, and the insight personalized advice in the rookie big board Discord. Make sure to check out all of that over at patreon.com/rookie big board. And thanks for checking out this episode.